Imagine being a dinosaur, without fangs, without speed, and definitely without the appetite of a predator. So how do you survive in a world where everything wants to eat you? You turn into a walking fortress. Today, we're diving headfirst into the prehistoric arms race. From spiky tails to bone-crushing armor, these are the dinosaurs that took defense mode to the next level. But don't let their slow pace fool you. Some of these creatures were basically medieval tanks on 4 legs. Others were living pincushions you wouldn't dare hug. In this video, we're ranking the most armored dinosaurs from the weakest shell to the ultimate defense beast. Some of these facts will surprise you. One species even had a built-in weapon that could break bones. So grab your helmet, because you're about to witness nature's OG body armor, millions of years before the first knight ever wore steel. 12. Hylaeosaurus. Coming in at number 12 is Hylaeosaurus, a true OG in the armored dinosaur world. This spiky fellow lived during the early Cretaceous and was one of the very first armored dinosaurs ever discovered. That alone earns it a spot on the list. Measuring around 5 meters long, that's about 16 feet, Hylaeosaurus wasn't the biggest, but what it lacked in size, it made up for in style and spikes. Its back was lined with tough bony plates, and its shoulders were armed with long, sharp spikes that could easily leave a predator rethinking its lunch plans. Unlike its more famous cousins, it didn't have a club tail. But don't let that fool you. Getting shoulder-checked by Hylaeosaurus would feel like getting hit with a medieval lance. It's like the dinosaur version of a spiky biker jacket, small but dangerous. Paleontologists consider Hylaeosaurus to be one of the earliest members of the Ankylosauria family, basically, the granddaddy of all those living tanks that came later. And get this, when its fossils were discovered back in the 1800s, it was among the first 3 dinosaurs ever named. Yep, it helped start this whole dino craze. So while it might not have had a tail club or the body mass of later armored giants, Hylaeosaurus walked so Ankylosaurus could smash. Respect your elders. Next up, number 11. Say hello to Minmi, the armored underdog of the Cretaceous. At first glance, Minmi might look unimpressive. It was small, just about 10 feet long, 3 meters, and roughly 600 pounds, 270 kilograms. That's like a chunky pony. But don't let its size fool you. Minmi was built to stay alive. Unlike its later cousins, like Ankylosaurus, Minmi didn't have a massive tail club. Instead, it had a network of bony armor plates running down its back and sharp spikes jutting out from both sides of its body. Basically, nature's barbed wire. Any predator thinking about grabbing it from the side would get a nasty surprise. Minmi also had a low center of gravity. It hugged the ground, making it harder to flip or pin down. Some scientists believe it could lie flat and press its armor to the earth, becoming nearly impossible to bite, like a spiky turtle with turbo legs. Speaking of legs, Minmi was surprisingly fast for an armored dinosaur. Its limb proportions suggest it could actually run, or at least move at a quick trot, which gave it one extra trick: mobility. Imagine trying to catch a hedgehog that bites back and runs faster than you. And if you're wondering about the name, it was discovered near Minmi Crossing in Queensland, Australia. Yes, it's named after a place. But if you ask us, Minmi sounds like the name of a deceptively cute warrior in a Pixar movie. So while it didn't have brute force or a tail like a medieval weapon, Minmi earned its rank with clever armor design, strategic spikes, and an escape plan that actually worked. In the wild world of dinosaur defense, sometimes small and spiky beats big and clumsy. 10. Scelidosaurus, the prototype defender. Meet Scelidosaurus, one of the earliest armored dinosaurs and, honestly, the blueprint for many spiky tanks that came later. Scelidosaurus lived over 190 million years ago, in the early Jurassic period, way before most of its armored cousins even existed. It reached about 13 feet long, 4 meters, and weighed around 880 pounds, 400 kilograms. Not huge, but definitely not tiny either. Picture a big cow, but with armor and attitude. What made Scelidosaurus special wasn't just its age, it was the armor layout. Its entire back was covered in rows of bony plates called osteoderms, and some of those plates had little spikes sticking out. Basically, it was walking chainmail with attitude. While later dinos like Ankylosaurus went full tank mode, Scelidosaurus was more like the beta version, still testing out the design. But even in this early form, it had one key feature: full body coverage, from neck to tail. Predators looking for a soft spot were probably disappointed. It also had strong legs built for steady movement, and a long, stiff tail not for swinging like a club, but maybe to help with balance or a quick shove if needed. Some scientists even suggest the tail spikes could be used to warn off attackers with a quick flick. And get this, it was one of the first dinosaurs to give paleontologists a complete skeleton to study. So Scelidosaurus isn't just a dinosaur, it's a celebrity in the fossil world. You could think of it as the first-gen iPhone of armored dinosaurs, classic, important, and way ahead of its time. Without Scelidosaurus, we might never have gotten the evolution of dino tanks that came later. So while it may not have had the biggest spikes or a tail club, Scelidosaurus earns its spot by being the OG, the dinosaur that started it all. 9. Sauropelta, the walking razorback. Imagine a dinosaur so heavily armored, it looked like a medieval weapon on 4 legs. That's Sauropelta, the razorback of the early Cretaceous. Living about 108 million years ago, this spiky beast measured around 20 feet long, 6 meters, and weighed up to 3,300 pounds, 1.5 metric tons. That's about the size of a large SUV, but with armor and spikes instead of airbags. What made Sauropelta truly terrifying, if you were a predator, was its row of massive shoulder spikes. These weren't tiny decorative spines. These were javelin-sized weapons jutting from both sides of its neck and shoulders. One wrong move, and a hungry theropod could end up with a punctured ego and belly. Its back was covered in bony plates and nodules, offering full-body defense. But interestingly, unlike some of its armored cousins, Sauropelta didn't have a tail club. Its tail was long and stiff, probably used more for balance than for battle. And here's the cool part. Despite being so armored, it wasn't slow. It had long, powerful hind legs, suggesting it could move fast when needed. So basically, it was a spiky bulldozer with speed. When paleontologists first discovered its fossils in North America, they were amazed by how intact the armor was. That's why today, we have one of the most complete pictures of what these walking tanks really looked like. If dinosaurs had gladiators, Sauropelta would be the one in spiked shoulder pads, nodding silently, daring anyone to attack. 8. Edmontonia, the rhino in armor. Picture a rhinoceros now covered in steel. That's basically Edmontonia, a tank-like dinosaur that lived around 76 to 70 million years ago in the late Cretaceous of North America. This walking fortress measured about 22 feet long, 6.7 meters, and weighed up to 3 tons, 6,600 pounds. Its body was squat and wide, with a low-slung head, massive shoulders, and a back covered in heavy armor. But the real stars of the show? Those massive shoulder spikes. Each one jutted out sideways like a medieval jousting lance. If a predator tried to attack from the side, boom, impaled like a kebab. The plates along its back were thick and fused together. This thing wasn't just armored, it was practically impenetrable. Its skin, covered in bony nodules and scuts that turned its whole body into a shield. Now here's the wild part. Edmontonia didn't even bother to run. It likely used the same strategy as a porcupine. Stay still, brace yourself, and let the spikes do the talking. There's even fossil evidence showing damage to its armor, suggesting it might have survived predator attacks by simply tanking the blows. In a human analogy, Edmontonia is the bouncer at the club wearing a spiked leather jacket. You don't mess with him unless you've got a plan. He doesn't chase trouble, but if it comes to him, trouble regrets it. No flashy tail club, no offensive weapons, just pure, passive aggression wrapped in medieval plating. And in the world of dinosaurs, that was more than enough to survive. 7. Tugiangosaurus, the double-ended dinosaur. Let's get one thing straight. Tugiangosaurus was armed to the teeth, even though it didn't have any. This strange-looking herbivore from the late Jurassic of China, living around 160 million years ago, was a walking medieval weapon. About 7 meters long, 23 feet, and weighing 2 to 3 tons, 4,400 to 6,600 pounds, it looked like a stegosaurus, but with a sharper attitude. Running along its back were 17 pairs of tall, triangular plates, forming a jagged, saw blade-like spine. These plates probably weren't just for show. They might have regulated heat, intimidated rivals, or confused predators. But the main attraction? That tail. At the end of its long, flexible tail were 2 pairs of massive spikes, known as a thagomizer. And trust me, you didn't want to be near it when this thing got mad. One well-timed tail swipe could rip open a predator's belly or shatter bones. Fossil evidence from related stegosaurs suggests these tail weapons weren't just for looks. They actually left damage on attacking predators. Tujiangosaurus didn't run. It stood its ground, turning its back to the enemy and swinging that spiked tail like a mace. If dinosaurs had martial arts, this guy was a master of defensive kung fu. And let's be honest, this was the kind of dinosaur that looked harmless from the front, but was a nightmare from the rear. A walking contradiction. Gentle grazer in the front, medieval death trap in the back. So next time someone calls you two-faced, just say you're channeling your inner Tujiangosaurus. 6. Polacanthus, the walking blade factory. Imagine if a stegosaurus and an Ankylosaurus had a baby, and then gave it a full set of medieval armor. That's Polacanthus for you. This spiky herbivore lived about 125 million years ago during the early Cretaceous period in what is now southern England. At around 5 meters long, 16.4 feet, and weighing over 2 tons, 400 plus pounds, it wasn't the biggest, but it was built like a tank covered in knives. Its entire back and tail were lined with rows of sharp, bony spikes, like it was wearing a suit made of blades. But the real kicker? Polacanthus also had a massive bony plate over its hips, forming something like a prehistoric back shield, and a layer of armor beneath its belly, just in case anything thought about flipping it over. In the world of armored dinosaurs, Polacanthus was basically the DIY bodyguard. Not the flashiest, not the fastest, but impossible to mess with. It probably relied on its low profile and natural defense, standing still like a thorny boulder while predators rethought their life choices. One wrong move, and you're face first into a spike pit. Scientists still debate how mobile it really was. Some think it moved like a tank, slow but unstoppable. Others say it might have been surprisingly nimble for something that looked like a walking weapons rack. Either way, Polacanthus didn't need fancy tricks. Its best move was just being too dangerous to touch. And if dinosaurs had a fashion show, this guy would win, most likely to be mistaken for a fortress. 5. Borealopelta. Coming in at number 5 is Borealopelta, the dinosaur equivalent of a modern-day stealth tank. This armored beast was built like a walking fortress, measuring about 18 feet long, 5.5 meters, and weighing over 1.5 tons. Borealopelta had bony plates covering its entire back, neck, and even parts of its tail. But what really makes it stand out is its massive shoulder spikes. Imagine a linebacker with steel shoulder pads, except 10 times heavier. And here's the twist. Scientists discovered that this dinosaur didn't just rely on brute defense. Its fossil, one of the best preserved ever found, revealed something extraordinary: camouflage. Yes, Borealopelta had reddish-brown coloring on its back and a lighter underbelly, a classic color scheme used by animals today to blend into their surroundings. This means even a tank wanted to go invisible. So, you've got a creature that's part armored car, part chameleon. Think about that. It didn't just say, "Come at me, bro." It said, "You won't even see me coming." If this dino had a LinkedIn profile, its skills would include damage absorption, visual deception, and looking intimidating without trying. Would you mess with it? Nope. Not unless you enjoy being impaled by shoulder blades the size of boomerangs. 4. Gastonia. Number 4 on our list is Gastonia, the dinosaur that basically said, "Touch me and bleed." This low-slung, heavily armored herbivore was built for one thing: painful defense. It stretched around 16 feet long, roughly 5 meters, and weighed over 2 tons. Its body was like a living medieval weapon, covered from snout to tail in sharp, bony plates and spikes. Some paleontologists even described it as a porcupine with an attitude. What made Gastonia unique was its passive-aggressive strategy. It didn't need to charge like a bull or swing a clubtail. Nope. Its entire strategy was, don't get close or you'll regret it. It had spikes jutting from its shoulders, hips, and even along the sides, meaning predators couldn't even get a good grip without getting stabbed. It was like trying to hug a cactus covered in knives that weighs 2 tons. Its low center of gravity and wide stance made it almost impossible to flip over, which is important because once you're upside down with all that armor, you're just a slow-moving lunch tray. Gastonia was nature's equivalent of auto-reply, do not disturb. A living no-go zone. And hey, if dinosaurs had bumper stickers, Gastonias would say, if you can read this, you're too close and probably impaled. 3. Stegosaurus, the walking solar panel with a spike surprise. The Stegosaurus, easily one of the most recognizable dinosaurs in history. With giant sail-like plates on its back and a spike club at the end of its tail, this creature looked like it walked straight out of a fantasy novel. But don't let the weird proportions fool you. Stegosaurus lived around 155 to 150 million years ago, during the late Jurassic period, and reached up to 9 meters 30 feet in length, weighing over 5 tons, 11,000 pounds. Its famous double row of bony plates, each up to 2 feet tall, has puzzled scientists for years. Were they for defense? Thermoregulation? Showing off to the ladies? One theory suggests they worked like prehistoric solar panels, helping regulate body heat. Another? They were a kind of intimidation device, making Stego look twice as tall to scare off predators. And let's talk about the tail, called the Thagomizer. Yes, that's an actual name. This 4-spike club wasn't just for decoration. It could deliver bone-shattering blows. And fossil evidence even shows injuries on predators that tried their luck with a Stego. But here's the twist. Despite its armor, Stegosaurus had a brain the size of a walnut, literally. For something so massive, it wasn't exactly the brightest bulb in the Jurassic forest. Still, it didn't need to be a genius. When your strategy is look terrifying and smash things with your tail, it gets the job done. If dinosaurs were school kids, Stegosaurus would be that quiet kid who sits alone but carries a massive spike bat in their backpack. 2. Euoplocephalus, the compact tank of the Cretaceous. Think of Euoplocephalus as the smaller, faster cousin of Ankylosaurus. But don't let the size fool you. This 6 meter, 20 feet, long herbivore was basically a walking fortress. Its name means well-armored head, and that's no exaggeration. From skull to tail, this dino was wrapped in thick bony armor, like a prehistoric tank covered in turtle shell and iron spikes. Living during the late Cretaceous, around 76 to 74 million years ago, Euoplocephalus weighed in at about 2.5 tons, 5,500 pounds. It had a low center of gravity, short but powerful legs, and a broad, squat body, built like a rugby player in full plate armor. And yes, it had the legendary tail club. That heavy, bony sledgehammer at the end of its tail wasn't for show. Paleontologists believe it could deliver crushing blows strong enough to break the legs of large predators. Now picture this. You're a raptor trying to sneak up on one of these guys. You pounce, and bam! You get a bone-breaking tail strike to the ribs. That's what we call instant regret. It also had armored eyelids. That's right, even its eyeballs came with backup. Talk about commitment to defense. Scientists once thought Euoplocephalus was solitary, but newer fossil sites suggest it may have lived in small groups. Imagine a gang of 4-legged tanks slowly waddling through the forests of prehistoric North America. If this dino were a person, it would be that friend who's not very fast or talkative. But if anyone picks a fight, they've got a steel bat and zero hesitation. Number 1. Ankylosaurus, the ultimate dinosaur tank. When it comes to defense, Ankylosaurus isn't just a dinosaur. It's a walking fortress on legs. At up to 8 meters, 26 feet, long and weighing over 6 tons, 13,000 pounds, this Cretaceous beast was like the prehistoric version of a military tank. Low to the ground, heavily armored, and armed with one devastating weapon: A massive tail club. Imagine a tail the size of a sledgehammer, packed with solid bone, and swung with enough force to shatter the bones of even a T-Rex. Yes, paleontologists believe one good hit could break a predator's leg. Not bad for a plant eater. Its entire body was covered in osteoderms, thick, bony plates embedded in the skin like medieval chainmail. Even its eyelids had armor. If dinosaurs had glasses, Ankylosaurus would break them with its face and then apologize for being indestructible. Despite its fearsome looks, Ankylosaurus was a peaceful grazer. It roamed the late Cretaceous plains of North America about 68 to 66 million years ago, snacking on low-lying ferns, cycads, and maybe the occasional prehistoric salad bar. Its short legs and low build made it slow, but that didn't matter. Because, honestly, who would want to pick a fight with a four-legged brick wall that hits back? Fun fact, the tail club wasn't just a defense weapon. Some scientists believe it may also have been used in interspecies duels, like who has the better tail swing contests. If Ankylosaurus were a person, it would be the quiet gym bro. Low profile, friendly, but if you mess around, you're getting pancaked. So, which one would you trust to protect you in a dinosaur apocalypse? The spike-wrapped Sauropelta? The armored battering ram Ankylosaurus? Or maybe you'd go full juggernaut with the ultimate spiky menace, Stegosaurus? These dinosaurs weren't the fastest, the smartest, or the flashiest. But when the world was ruled by claws and chaos, they survived by being living fortresses. Yes, we've just met 12 walking tanks of the dinosaur world. Some had stealthy skin, others had bone-crushing tails, and a few were basically medieval weapons on legs. So tell us, which one impressed you the most? And if you had to be one of them, which would it be? Hit the comments, hit the like button, and hit subscribe. Because next time, we're going from defense to destruction. Dino Bite Force, ranked. Who really had the deadliest jaws in history? Stay tuned, the real chomping begins soon.